Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. The Department of Energy says the development and use of renewable energy is part of the country's low-emission development strategy. It is a means to help address the impact of climate change while ensuring sustainable, accessible, and affordable energy sources. How far has the country invested in its renewable energy program? Let's get on point with Energy Undersecretary Rowena Cristina Guevara. Yusek, good to have you. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, so you are an engineer and you are leading the Department of Energy's renewable energy efforts. Maybe as an overview, you can help us understand and tell us how much renewable energy is currently being utilized in the country.
Currently, we have 22% renewable energy in the generation mix. And we have a target of 35% in 5 years' time. So parang 50% increase in just 5 years. And then we have a target of another, by 2040, we should be at 50%.
22%, is
Yes.
that is that a good amount? Is that a good percentage of renewable energy currently being utilized?
That is a good number considering that we came from 35% in 2008. Then we got a lot of coal-fired power plants. We went down to less than 20, and now we're up at 22%.
What is the attraction right now into the shift to renewable energy?
There are several ways of looking at it. From the consumer's point of view, it's that eventually renewable energy will give you better prices than what we have today. Second, we are going to be kind to the environment if we go for renewables because of the greenhouse gas emission reduction. And thirdly, it would be good for businesses because right now, some countries have already implemented what we call the carbon tax at the border. So when you export something to them, if they know that you use a lot of coal-fired power plants to produce the product, you get taxed at the border. So if we want our products to be competitive worldwide, we need to use more renewables such that we can say, we produce this with green energy.
Let's just break it down, Yusek, for everybody's understanding. Kasi there's been a lot of maybe interest right now with solar panels especially. Why is it number one cheaper? Because I know it's cheaper in the long run,
Yes.
but not initially, obviously, as an investment.
You know, when you use coal-fired power plants, you build the plant and then you pay for the fuel. For renewables, you build the plant, you pay for everything, then you don't pay any fuel. So the upfront cost is high. But eventually, you don't have to pay anything if you have the renewables on top of your rooftop.
And why is it, when you said kinder to the environment?
Because there is no greenhouse gas emission when you use renewable
Yeah,
energy.
maybe just for everybody's understanding, ano ho ba yung kinder to the environment greenhouse emission?
You've heard of what they call climate change.
Right.
Climate change is brought about by the fact that nabubutas na yung ating ozone layer because we're producing a lot of carbon. Ano ba yung may carbon? Well, if you use coal, uling yan eh. May nagpo-produce ng carbon yan, may emission. So it endangers our ozone layer. And because of that, the climate is getting warmer, the seas are rising, and then we are warmer still. So.
And that's what, with so many natural calamities, actually the storms and the hotter days, a lot have actually been attributing this to climate change. Do you feel that somehow there's been a little bit more interest and understanding and consciousness towards protecting the environment?
I have to say for the younger generation, there is.
Yeah.
The younger generation understands what the connection between climate change and the production of carbon. They also understand that, you know, the Philippines being one of the most natural disaster-prone country, the more carbon is produced in the world, the worse it is for us. If you recall, when we were younger, we had only a few typhoons per year. It only happens in Luzon. But now we have 22 typhoons a year. It goes from Luzon all the way to Mindanao. So that is climate change.
Very clearly, that is climate change. Let's talk about the availability of supply and demand. Kindly explain that to us in terms of how much supply there is and how much demand it needs.
We know from economics that if you have too much demand and low supply, cost goes high. If you look at your electric bills today, we are enjoying a lower electricity rate in the last 2 months. And the reason is that in the market, the wholesale electricity spot market, there is more supply than demand. The margin, the difference between supply and demand, is about 6,000 megawatts. This is the highest we've ever had in 20 years.
And we're talking about supply and demand for solar.
For electricity.
For electricity as a whole.
As a whole.
Renewable and not renewable.
Yes.
I see. So that begs the question, bakit ang mahal pa rin po ng kuryente?
Actually, bumaba na yung kuryente. In May, bumaba tayo by 2 pesos and 40 centavos per kilowatt hour. So if you're consuming 100 kilowatt hours a month, that's already 240 pesos discount.
Okay. There's good news, though, in some of the articles that came out that the Philippines ranks number 2 in the world among emerging markets for clean energy investment. How and why did this happen?
We are the darling of renewable energy investors. The number one reason, because we also asked the BNEF, why are we number 2? And we realized we're number 1 in terms of policies. There are 9 policies that a country should have to be considered compliant already. And we are the only country that has complied with all the 9 rules. For example, we have the renewable energy market. We have priority dispatch in the wholesale electricity spot market for renewables. So all these policies, we check them.
Okay, and that makes us, that's why we were ranked number 2. But what does that mean overall for us? When we talk about emerging markets for clean energy investments, is that externally that they would actually come in and look at us because we are an emerging market, or is it internally?
From the outside.
Looking
you know, we checked all the banks and we checked how much money they have and if they could afford to pay for our energy transition as a country. And we realized that if we get all the monies in all our banks, we can only fund 1/3 of our energy transition. So we need 2/3 to come from outside investors. And when we realize how far along we've gone, you know, we get all these calls from international banks, from international investors, because they want to go to the Philippines because we have all the right policies for renewable energy.
That's good to hear. And what kind of investments are we seeing in the short term or long term as they come in?
We have a lot of short term, for example, for offshore wind. One company, the first 100% foreign company to invest, is investing $5 billion for 3 offshore wind projects. And right now, just
wind,
for
wind. Did you say wind? Okay.
Yeah, for offshore wind, there are 8 100% foreign-owned companies that are investing in offshore wind in the Philippines.
So would you say wind would be the most viable investment among renewable energy?
I have to give a very long answer.
Okay.
You know, in 2015, when we started with the feed-in tariff for solar, the price was 9 to 11 pesos per kilowatt hour. Mahal. Pag bagong technology, mahal. But now solar is only 450.
So it was
It
cut
will
by
really
half.
go down, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So right now, if we go for wind, wind is a little more expensive because it's hard to put up. And if you go offshore, it's even harder to put that up. So it's going to be more expensive in the beginning. But we looked at other countries like the UK. In the beginning, the price for their offshore wind was 120 pounds per megawatt hour. After 4 years, it went down to 42.
Wow.
So that's like a factor
Drastic.
of 3 in just 4 years. So we imagine if we go into offshore wind now, it will go down eventually.
So isa-isahin po natin, Yusek. With regards to offshore wind, how much investment do we have at the moment and capacity? And then let's shift to solar. How much investment and capacity it generates?
Okay. if we're talking about the one that are already put up,
Yes.
the total is
Existing
about
po.
3.8 gigawatts or
For wind?
3,800 megawatts. That is solar and wind.
Repeat that for me, please.
3,800 megawatts
Okay.
for solar and wind right now. And if you talk about investments, investment for solar is about 700,000 to 800,000 per megawatt. If you talk about wind, the wind onshore is about maybe $1 million per megawatt. If you talk about offshore, that is more expensive, about 1.5.
Is
to
it more
2.
expensive because it's more
Difficult.
expensive to actually really build it?
Yes, because you have to go offshore,
Yeah.
maybe 50 to 100 kilometers away from the shore, makes it difficult to build. But the nice thing about this offshore wind, because we have typhoons, when there's typhoon,
generates a
they
lot
will
of energy.
generate more.
Yeah.
And they're able to withstand up to about signal number 2
I see.
of typhoon.
I see.
So,
Signal number 2.
Yeah, they
I wonder if
can.
that's enough, though, you said.
they, because other countries who are similar situation as like us have already built them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there is also this program called Green Energy Auction Program and Green Energy Option Program. We're going to talk about that after the break. This is On Point. We'll be right back. You're watching On Point, still with us, Energy Undersecretary Rowena Guevara. I want to just circle back to what you said a while ago. We have 3,800 megawatts of renewable energy. What does this translate to? How much energy does the country need? So we have a better understanding.
Okay. The country, the total generation that we have right now is about 27,000 megawatts. Our peak demand,
27,000 megawatts.
our peak demand is about 19 to 20,000 megawatts. So we have some margin. So that's a very small amount compared to that total, no? But then this year, we're having green energy auction, and we are auctioning off a lot of megawatts.
I see. And that's where I wanted to go. Green Energy Auction Program, what is that all about?
It's about auctioning off capacities that are needed to come online at a certain time of the year. So for example, we say we need 1 megawatt by 2025, or in our case, we need 3,300 megawatts by 2027, 2028. And then the renewable energy developers, they bid. The lowest bidder wins. The bid ceiling price is set by the Energy Regulatory Commission. And if you're a winner, you're guaranteed 20 years of contract that everything that you are able to produce will be paid for.
But you're talking about a company that bids and wins that already has the infrastructure here or will invest here for the auction program?
Some of them already have, some of them will build.
So it's open for both?
Because our production years, for example, our third green energy auction, the production year is 2025 until 2035. So they can choose the dates.
That's 10 years, 2025 to 2035.
Yes, because we bidded out pump storage hydro, which
Okay.
takes 5 years to build.
I see. All right. And then there is a Green Energy Option Program. Iba po ito dun sa auction versus option.
Yeah, the green energy option, there are some consumers who want 100% renewable, like companies who export. And so if you're 100 kilowatts or higher, then you can go for the green energy option.
For option. Tell us more about the situation of schools or even malls right now. Are they into renewable energy?
Unfortunately not.
Okay.
So we have been talking with the Department of Energy, and there's a program between the Department of Energy, the National Electrification Administration, and the Department of Education to put solar rooftop on every public school.
Very interesting. And what has been the, how did they respond to this?
Oh, they signed an agreement and they turned on the first school like last 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the target for that?
We hope that by 2028 we have covered all the public schools.
All?
Yeah, because you invest something,
Yeah.
but then after 3 years, bawi na eh.
That's what I wanted to find out. What is the ROI on this, the return on investment?
So if you're putting up the solar rooftop in your house, in 3 to 5 years, bawi ka na. After 5 years, wala ka nang babayaran eh.
Question though, Yusek. Does it get cheaper? I mean, siguro for some people, especially households or even big businesses, is it better to wait because as there is more supply, there are more options, prices may actually go down. Was solar expensive, more expensive maybe 2 years ago as they are compared to now?
You know, now is the best time to go for solar because the price of solar, if you compare like maybe 10 years ago, is only 10% of the price. So now is the time to put up a solar rooftop in your houses.
Will it get cheaper as the years progress?
I would say it this way. As the years progress, you might want to go for solar plus battery because battery is also going down. It means even at night, your aircon at night, you can use your solar power.
Because the energy that is generated by your solar panels is saved in the battery, which you can actually use at night.
Yeah.
But there's also an issue there on USEC on how long the life of the batteries are. I mean, just looking at it in the future and how they are going to be disposed.
Okay. The ROI you asked, no? After 5 years, wala ka nang babayaran. The solar panel lasts for 20 years. So for 15 years, you're not going to pay anything. And then for batteries, the batteries now are 15 to 20 years na din.
I see.
And then when it comes to the how to dispose of the used batteries, there are standards, international standards of how you're supposed to do that.
Tell us with regards to businesses, I guess in terms of percentage, how many have actually shifted to renewable energy?
In terms of the GEOP, the green energy option, it's not yet enough. It's a conservative number as of this moment. But we're hoping that we're making the process easier. We have talked with the ERC, and we're also talking with the local government units to make it easier to put up rooftop solar. But the easy one to do is the GEOP, because the GEOP, the green energy option, you just have to tell your distribution utility that you want to shift.
Basically, your local supplier.
Not the supplier, but
give us an example. Let's say,
for example, my distribution utility is Meralco.
Yeah.
Then I tell Meralco I want to shift to GEOP.
And
then,
can households actually do that, or are these just now focused on big businesses?
Because we now have what we call retail aggregators.
Okay.
So they can aggregate an entire village, a subdivision.
Pwede na sila magsama-sama.
Then pwede na
dyan.
silang mag-GEOP.
At pwede silang pumili. Yun yung GEOP, yung option program.
The power of choice to the consumers.
But why is that? Why doesn't it seem like that's being rolled out or people are really not very familiar with it just yet? Is it because it's only available for bigger areas such as where Meralco distributes?
It's because of the 100 kilowatt requirement before. But then we added the retail aggregation. So now we're seeing the shift going faster. So last year, I think ERC reported that 48% shifts increase compared to the previous year. So it's gaining ground.
Yusek, how can you make it, or the Department of Energy make it more attractive, for example, for households to be able to shift to solar energy, minus, of course, the cost? I mean, in terms of the paperwork, the methodology, or the process by which somebody has to go through to be able to shift. Kasi kung sabihin nila, madali naman mag-shift pala to solar, mag-invest tayo ng ganito, gawin na natin. Pero ang problema po, as I hear, and as I've experienced, it's not an easy thing to do.
I have to agree with you at this point in time. But we have already discussed with the ERC, and there are some ways to reduce the requirements. It's the requirements. There are like 8 pieces of paper that you have to submit. And the local government unit also, there are some tests that they require. That's not really needed. So we are working on that one.
But how do you work on that and do it faster? Because now is probably the time really to do this, get ahead, even if it's been around for quite a while. Ibig sabihin, mahirap po kasi talaga kung pabalik-balik yung tao. I mean, people will do it if you make it attractive to them.
We've noticed that we actually have to go LGU by LGU. Some local government units have embraced the idea and actually facilitate the switch. But some LGUs are just, they're not interested.
Why? Why do you think?
It's not their priority. Maybe their priority is food or other concerns. But some LGUs have already signed up that they are going to promote it among their
Would you say that the more
constituents.
progressive ones are the ones who want to promote it?
That's you're right there.
Or maybe some LGUs have some conflict of interest. That's why they don't want to
Not
push
really.
for.
Not really. Because if your town or your LGU is clean, that is something to boast about.
Yeah, because that's what I question. Why will they not be interested to? I think this has to be one of the LGU's priorities because of our issue on yung kuryente,
Yeah.
brownout. At least hindi tayo magkakaproblema kung solar is readily available for everyone.
One of our development partners has already instituted something new, with the LGA, the Local Government Association, where basically the new set of LGU officers or officials, they will have an Energy 101, where basically they will be encouraged to go for renewables.
That might be a good program just to familiarize all of us regarding this. Maybe as a last question, what can we expect as an incentive for investors to actually come in? What do they get in return, aside from their return on investment, to set up shop in the Philippines?
Well, we do have incentives, like we have income tax holiday, 7 years, tax-free importation for 10 years. They also have zero-rated VAT. So all these incentives attract all of these investors.
And maybe that's why we're
the darling.
Yeah, we're number 2.
Yes.
Hindi ho ba? By the end of the president's term, President Bongbong Marcos, what can we expect in terms of renewable energy here in the country?
Well, our promise to the president is that we are going to be at 30% renewable by 2028.
All right. Energy Undersecretary Rowena Guevara. Ma'am, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you also.
That's On Point. Join us again on Monday at 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Billionaire News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb. Thank you for watching.